Oh, hey, you caught me taking a nap in the neighbor's swing down by the lake. It's pretty quiet here. Let me stop rocking. I don't want to make you motion sick. And it's a beautiful day. We started out at 61 degrees and it's only supposed to get up to, it says 79. But it's not so humid here by the lake. I'm watching someone being towed around and you can probably hear them in the background. Maybe not. But today is Blabfest Friday. My name is Lorrie. Welcome to my channel. We are quilters. Like I said, there are some boats in the background going to and from on the lake. Couldn't ask for better weather for a Friday. This is fantastic. Let me get my little cards and I will have to refer to my notes so I don't forget any good stuff for this Blabfest. Let's get started. Topic number 1, block parade. So this week I have the extra side border blocks from Study in Scarlet. I did not assemble them yet, but here they are. There are 9 blocks on each side, and the middle one has green plaid in it. And I kept to the plaid for these blocks in honor of the Sherlock Holmes friendship with Dr. Watson. I also have the finished block from Monday. It is very cute. Only one more week of herringbone to go. And I will be glad to be done with herringbone for a while. But now I've got that firmly in my skill set. I'm calling this topic, oh, oops. I accidentally cut too many blocks. I was looking at an old version of the pattern in my Study in Scarlet book, and I cut too many of the 5-inch blocks. Oh, way too many. 18 too many of the 5-inch blocks. So, the plaid. So I am going to take this opportunity to use the bonus blocks for a quilt and use up some scrap fabric. Here is what I have laid out so far from those 1.5-inch bonus half square triangles. And as I make the other 18 blocks, well, it'll be more like 36, I believe, by the time all is said and done. And then there will be more bonus triangles. So it will make a nice little quilt top. It's going to be interesting to see how it all turns out, because I haven't even started. Well, I did start. I dug out enough scraps to make one set of triangle blocks. This is wild bright yellow. I'm going to use wild bright colors for this one. So sometimes accidents can be happy, I guess. Now, I haven't talked a lot about Study in Scarlet here on Blabfest. I usually do that on Wednesdays, but this is the last Friday before the next chapter drops on the 1st. So on August 1st, Part 2, Chapter 2, drops and opens up so that you can listen to it. And in honor of that, and because Anne sent a surprise contribution for the end, I had to get my butt in gear, and I assembled part of the Study in Scarlet quilt. So here is a picture of the color sheet, and you can see right here the part that I could assemble, and here is a picture of the part that I could assemble for today. Now I realize that you don't have all the directions yet for the God's Eye, but that's coming up. I had to make the God's Eye block as I was writing the directions for you, so then I could assemble. There are other parts I could assemble too, but I haven't gotten that far yet. Maybe next week I will get more of that assembled. But remember, listen in on the 1st And it's never too late to go back and listen to the chapters if you haven't been. So I've been doing a segment called Behind the Door, and we've been looking at things that were stashed and stuffed behind the door on a rack. Well, now we're going to do in the drawer or in the cubby. I have sewing things organized, and I don't even remember what I have organized where, unless I've needed it and gone in search of things. So let's take a look at the cubby drawers that I keep in my spare room with sewing supplies and blocks. Here's our first segment. Enjoy! Let's see what is in this bin. I'm hand holding the camera. I see lots of trim. Oh, this one is a gift trim. It's not sewing trim. Ooh, nice wide lace. Quite a little roll of it. And oh, look at that pink rickrack. Two different colors of pink rickrack. And Halloween ribbon. Some lovely pink 1/4-inch ribbon with the loops. Oh, this is a wealth of stuff. And this, it has stretch to it. A binding. Oh, and I paid 50 cents for it. Don't know exactly how much of it's there, but cute. Ready-made binding. I see in this bag there's an assortment. Let me focus the camera a little. An assortment of ribbons to sew with. And some wide lace that can be gathered. Some 1/2-inch ribbon with loops. A bin. Oh, you never know what's going to be in that. I'll get back to that in a minute. Some seam binding. And more, what's that, bias? Oh, wide bias tape. And I see a handful of bias tapes. Let's pull these out here. Bias tapes and binding lace, a wide assortment, and some more of the same, different widths. Oh, look at that yellow. I wonder what outfit that was bought to make. Wow. And then I have a doily, or the center of a doily. Some Velcro. I know there's Velcro somewhere else. I'm going to sit this over on the machine over there and reset it. Oh, look at that. Peace, love, ribbon. I know I use some of this for bookmarks. Some white grosgrain lace in varying widths. Oh, and some more bias and grosgrain and lace. Oh, quite an assortment here. And here we have some rainbow straps. Oh, some velvet ribbon. Eyelet ribbon. We're getting down into the bottom. Oh, this is a big package of double fold bias quilt binding. Nice. Some more grosgrain. Some more binding. A whole bag full of, look at that. Some zippers. A variety of ribbons and kinds of ribbons. Let's see what is in this box. Oh, look at that. Rickrack. Rickrack and lace and bias binding and lace. Different colors. Just look at that pink trim. Isn't that fantastic? So another variety of things to sew onto those blocks. It's crazy. Oh, look at that. Seam tape. And I'm not beyond using that seam tape as just plain old lace. And some more rickrack. Yay, look at that stuff. And that is what goes back into the first bin on the bottom left of the bin of bins. Topic number 5 is treasures. Wahaha! I love to find some good treasure, and I promised that I would show you the fabric in this $5 box. There are quite a few solids in here. I will cut those up and use them as backgrounds. But let's take a look at the fabrics. I also found some bin organizers instead of the dollar that they knew, $1.25 they cost at the Dollar Tree. These were still in the package, and they were 50 cents for the package. So I bought 2 of those and still got a bargain. And that leads me right into topic number 6. And last week I did thoughts and challenges. I talked a little bit about how I can never keep a horizontal space cleaned off. And Diana said, it is what it is. And she cleans up, and then she starts a new project and it ends up being a mess. And it is what it is. So that's pretty much how I function. I work on stuff until I can't stand it anymore. And then I clean it all up and start the messy process all over again. I like to keep like things with like. So at the moment, I need to do some organizing, but it'll be all right. It's not so bad that I can't function with it the way it is. So I was glad to hear from Diana, and I was glad to hear from Anne said pretty much the same thing, that because she's a retired teacher and she used to watch a lot of shows about people that keep stuff. That's how I'm going to put it nicely. And a lot of the people on that show seem to be former teachers. Well, as teachers, you don't know what you're going to need, and you don't want to have to spend your own personal money to buy things over and over again that aren't supplied for you. So I understand why you keep things. But I got rid of all of that kind of thing, except for a couple packs of paper, and I gave it all to my teammates so they could use it. Oh, I also kept a couple red pens and a couple of those Ticonderoga pencils. I really like those. But I shared with other people. Now, fabric, that's a different story. I have a lot of that and a lot of notions too. But like I said, I'm not interested in getting rid of my stuff or even not getting more stuff. But I am interested in using it up in meaningful ways like making quilts. So, leading from teachers saving stuff, I will tell you that 3 of the 5 yard sales, so 60% of the yard sales we went to this weekend, were put on by teachers who were retiring and moving on to other careers, or teachers who just had had enough, weren't old enough to retire, and finding some other profession. But they had a lot of teacher stuff to get rid of. So I was glad to see that they're getting rid of things and not keeping them. But my thought is, I didn't yard sale having a yard sale is a lot of work. So I just gave stuff away. I didn't mind. I used it up, got my money's worth out of it, and gave it away to people who were in need. So, but I'm always glad to buy supplies and things at yard sales from teachers because sometimes they bought things that I don't have or never had. But now I have 1 too many hole punches, 3 hole punches, because I kind of like those. You have to make sure you can find those to put things in notebooks. That's another thing that I like to organize in spiral 3-ring notebook. My thought this week was on what kind of things do you do to keep your brain sharp? Dan has been doing, he found some very nice puzzles over the weekend at yard sales. And he does crossword puzzles. I prefer Sudoku or logic problems. Or we both like fill-it-in puzzles, but at the moment, those are precious and hard to find. They used to carry them at the Dollar Tree, but I haven't seen any at the Dollar Tree for a while, the fill-it-ins. And if you know what I'm talking about, you'll know exactly. They're a little challenging, and you still have to think, unlike word finds. Word finds are great, but they are the kind of puzzle that I do and Dan does when we really don't want to have to think too hard about doing an actual puzzle. So what kind of things do you do to keep your brain sharp while you're not quilting or sewing? Topic number 7. We are still looking at that magazine. It is so packed with stuff and it has so much eye candy in it. It was amazing. Here we are again, looking at the Quilters newsletter magazine for September 2006. We've been looking at this a little bit at a time for several weeks. Last week we looked at that fantastic card quilt. Today we're going to look at, they have a reader's quilt show, which absolutely amazing. And a lot of this, I think a lot of these are free form or applique. They're just gorgeous. I mean, like Hawaiian cut, applique. And this one also has to be an applique or fusible. Traditional pieces with applique added on top. This one looks paper piece to me. And it does say entirely pieced using a paper foundation technique. I love those colors, and it's just fantastic. Looks like a great way to use scraps. And 40 by 35 from 2003. Leaves of Another Year, it says. Bishop Creek Aspen. 50 by 44. Willow. And that definitely looks like a willow. This one looks more freeform, like a technique I once saw called caveman quilting, where you piece it together and then you layer the fabric, cut it, sew it, and then you have to trim it some because you're changing your seam allowances, but you're cutting so that your pieces, your curved pieces fit they're ever so gently curved and they fit. Forever Autumn is this quilt. And it has trees that come together in the center. There are 4 of them. Some applique, maple leaves, and little pine trees in groups of 3. And then trees out in the corners. Gorgeous work. Double duende, hand-painted fabrics. And it says, duende, the Andalusian spirit of creativity. Oh, we all need that. This one is called Subtropical, and it looks like it may have been paper pieced. To me, that looks like it's paper pieced and then freeform pieced and traditional pieced out along the edge. Beautiful, beautiful work. I love it when the older magazines have the readers' quilt shows to share. That is so inspiring. It's like show and tell on steroids. Orange lichen, very natural looking, and trees and other things, natural shapes. Life in the rainforest. Looks like a tree, and there's some creatures at the bottom and part of a compass rose. Nocturnal spontaneity. Machine applique with hand beading in the blossom centers. I had some fabric that was a very much smaller version with this colorway, and leaves that were similar to this, but not the star. That is, and it's 60 by 59, so it's large, throw size, but beautiful. And this one is called Leaves in Living Color. It reminds me of coral in the ocean, actually, or philodendron leaves. And an advertisement, and it included their blue ribbon winner. And then, like a bingo board, the F word finished. And they give you all kinds of hints and tips on how to get things done. And I read them and I thought, yeah, right. Some of them are good, some of them not so much. Oh, and here's the quilt of the, I won't show you the dimensions because that way I won't be infringing on copyright, but the North Pacific. And there are boats. You have to look at this quilt. It's like, wow, that's kind of busy. But then you start looking at, there's different size whales, and the boats are not all the same. There are 6 different kinds of boats over in the border, and flying geese all around. And then the center, I believe they call it an ocean waves block piecing. And boy, this would eat up the scraps because it's a 72 by 72 quilt. It's fairly large, but it would eat up scraps because that is what it is designed for. That is a fantastic quilt. And I see on the piecing diagram that some of the pieces they're not square blocks. They are rectangular blocks. And there's a skill builder for quick corners. Sew and flip. And this, I love this. Cranston probably, by Cranston Fabric, Cranston probably paid a lot to have such big ads. Either that or maybe they owned the magazine. But in 2006, these are the fabrics we are looking at. P&B Textiles. So they had some people really buy into, hey, look at my fabric lines. for 2006. I love this pattern that they don't have a pattern for it, but they have it peeking out there. That is a nice quilt block. Robert Kaufman fabrics, Westminster fibers, and they give you all the numbers, and wow, they were really pushing the fabric. The Riverwoods collection. I've never heard of Riverwoods. Wow, lots of fabric, lots of choices. And then they have the improved 9-patch, which is a 9-patch made with big corner blocks and a skinny little sashing and a tiny block in the middle. And then they curve it over and make it into these orange peel looking pieces. And it talks all about that technique for making these orange peel looking pieces with this underneath. That was pretty popular for a while, and it's an easy technique. Scrappy Scotty dogs, and I'm sure that it is machine appliqued with the little Scotty dogs. They give you the picture of the Scotty dog and then the size of the block, and it has a border outside the edge. And there's a sitting Scotty dog, so some are standing and some are sitting. Buy fabric in your jammies. 2006, it was becoming popular to buy fabric online. Do you remember the days when fabric was not available online? I personally like to touch fabric. And this, at that time, this was, the shipping on it was good. But fabric in your jammies. Wow. I hope you have enjoyed this little flip through of the magazine, and I will see you next week to finish the rest. And here's everyone's favorite part. Yay! Viewer contributions. Now I am taping this on a Tuesday. Here is the only viewer contribution I have because I am taping this so early. Anne, because she is good at, she knows the rule of proportions, and she figured out the rest of the God's Eye block before I even posted the patterns, and she assembled this bottom part of the quilt before I even got it assembled. I am so glad that she is truly motivated and gets things done. And she, by being motivated and sending me that picture, I knew I had to get more done so I could share it with you too. So good job, Anne. I love your colors as always. And thank you for pushing me to work a little harder and smarter. I hope you have enjoyed the Blabfest al fresco, and I hope that you all have a wonderful weekend and that it cools back down. Enjoy your time in the sunshine. Summer is way too short. Thank you for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe.